What? I thought that was your job. Oh no, you know what I'm talking about, right? Yeah, this is when people go into business with each other and they think the other person is doing part of the business. I'm Angela Brown and this is Ask a House Cleaner. This is a show where you get to ask a house cleaning question and I get to help you find an answer. Now this week we're doing what's called the Partnership Series, and it's for house cleaning business owners that go into business with someone else, hoping that that person is going to save them in their business and provide something that they don't have. What we're covering this week is what is a business partner? Is it a good idea? What is the exit strategy? What kind of agreements do we need to have in place? And how do you track the progress of your business partner so that your business is running smoothly? The thing we're going to cover today is, I thought that was your job. This is where you don't have the roles of the business partner clarified and both of you think the other person is doing something that the business needs. All right, so the very first reason we bring this up is because if you are going to have a business partner and you insist on having one, it is super important that you clarify the roles of both of you up front. Now, here's the challenge we have. Lots of people will go into business with their mom, their dad, their kid, their spouse, and because it's a family member and it's somebody that they're very familiar with, they skip a whole lot of steps. And the steps are like, hey, we're gung-ho about this business. Let's make it work. We'll figure it out as we go. All right, that's one of the worst things you can possibly do, because what happens when you start a business, there's this new found energy and enthusiasm and excitement, but it's like the honeymoon. So after the honeymoon, everything is like, okay, yeah, all right, everything's good. And the excitement kind of wears down. When the excitement wears down, if the roles are not crystal clear and clarified and in writing, everybody kind of assumes the other person is carrying the weight. And then nothing gets done. And then when it comes accountability time, you point the finger at the other person and you're like, oh, I thought that was your job. All right, it's not your job unless you agree to it. And so what happens when we have business partners, if there are no agreements, stuff falls through the cracks, and that's where a lot of businesses get in trouble. Okay, so first we need to sit down and break down what are the tasks of the business. And if this is a new business that you're just starting up, you may not know what the tasks are yet. And we'll talk in another one of these business partnership series about a weekly meeting, because I'm going to demand that you have one of those as well for measurability. But during that weekly meeting, you will then discuss what's going on in your business and you will create new roles as you go. But right now, if your business is hiring people, there needs to be somebody who is in charge of hiring and firing people. That person might also be the same person that sits down and figures out on paper, what are the rules and regulations of this job? What exactly are we looking for? And they might even be the person that contacts Indeed, for example, or LinkedIn and puts the ad on the site and writes the ad and does the ad copy or outsources that. So that person is in charge of the hiring process. Is that also the person that's in charge of the recruiting process that actually sits down and does the interviews? If it is, that needs to be enclosed in that particular role requirements, right? You're going to write this down on paper and say, this is what this job entails. It's almost like having a job interview, except the person that's for the job is actually your business partner, right? So they're saying, I will take that role in the business. I will take that job of the business. I will be responsible for that. Once they take responsibility for that, they become the 51 partnership of that task. We talked in another one of the business partner series about the 51-49 partnership, where they always get the final say, the person who has the 51%, right? We agree they will have the final judgment call. If it's, I oppose your opinion, they will make the final tiebreaker, okay? And we agree to that, and we agree in writing. Now, the reason this is so important is because there are a lot of different facets of the business. For example, in my cleaning business, when I was out cleaning every single day, I was also the one that was in charge of doing the inventory. So it only makes logical sense I would also be the one to replace the inventory. When we run low on supplies, I'm the one that's in charge of reordering. I may not be the one that's in charge of financing, but I'm the one that's in charge of reordering the inventory and keeping the place stocked. So what that means is, let's say my business partner is then in charge of financing and accounting. We need to sit down and have a meeting. And here's how much I'm spending on cleaning supplies. Here's how much I'm allocating per month per house. What is my budget here and how do we make this work? And so you might have conversations between the two of you. And in the end, they say yes or no, you can or cannot buy these supplies. And I'm the one that has to restock, you see? So there becomes a time where you have to work together, but everybody still may have their own separate divisions of the company. This becomes really, really important so that everything gets taken care of. Because in your business, as an entrepreneur and you're just one person, you wear all the hats. And so those hats are going to be making sure that you yourself get up every day and show up to work, making sure that the business is up and running and all of the customers' needs are met for the day, that you have all the jobs outsourced for the day, that everybody has their work orders for the day. When the jobs come in from the end of the day, that all of the accounting is done for the end of the day. Did we get paid for all the jobs? Did all of the customers get a thank you note or an invoice? Did we get paid for those jobs? Were the jobs, did they meet the satisfaction? There's somebody that has to be responsible for that. If there are employee challenges, who's in charge of the employee challenges and who is the HR department in your company? If somebody says, well, I need 10 days off because I'm going on a vacation or my parents got ill or whatever, who's in charge of that? So as the small business owner, you got to do it all. But if you have a business partner, you can split it up. But here's the key. You must split it up. It's not optional. And it's not like, well, we'll just figure it out as we go. Because then when an employee comes and says, I need 10 days off, well, I don't know, let me check with my business partner, let me see if it's okay. And now you're going back and forth, and that's wasting your time if you are not the person that does that. By splitting everything up, it really clarifies the roles that each of you will play. Because as business owners, whether you own half the company or whether you own the entire company, you have a finite amount of time. And so there's only so much time that you have in the course of the day that you can dedicate to your business. You only have a certain amount of physical energy. You only have a certain amount of emotional energy. You only have a certain amount of creative and intellectual energy, right? So we're wearing all these different hats of the business, and sometimes we're spread really thin, and the term is we're burning the candle at both ends. So the point of having a business partner, if you're going to have a business partner, is to split up the duties so they can do what they do best using their finite amount of resources, and you do what you do best using your finite amount of resources, and not crossing or double dipping and not letting stuff slip through the cracks, right? So it is really important to sit down and have a meeting where you break down every single role that's in your business. Who's in charge of social media? Who's in charge of hiring? Who's in charge of training? Who's in charge of products? Who's in charge of inventory? Who's in charge of finances? Who's in charge of payroll? And every single person in the business, whether you have multiple business partners or whether you just have one, all of those roles have to be split up. And all of those roles need a job description so that if there's something that's kind of a gray area like FMLA, okay, somebody's going to leave because of a family leave of absence or whatever, what does that fall under? Who's in charge of that? And then who gets the 51% decision whether or not we grant this to this employee at this particular time? Do we hold the job? All that stuff. Because we might have to bring an independent contractor in, or we might just say, no, we'll call off the customers and we won't do those jobs while they're away. There are certain things you can do, but who gets that decision? And the worst thing is when both parties are like, oh, this is my company, I'm going to make this work. And they both jump in and they both try to do the same job. And then everybody gets frustrated because, well, I thought that was my job. Well, no, I thought it was my job and I'm going to do it my way because my way is better. Well, no, my way is better. And then you have this bickering back and forth. The quickest, fastest way to success in a company, if you have a business partner, is to remove all of the bickering and to remove all of the little side things that distract your attention and eat up your energy. And so if you can sit down and be really crystal clear about the expectations, you got this, 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 and this, and you got the 51% decision on that. Then when it comes time for that to be qualified and measured, then you just sit down and you say, hey, share with me what you have. And that person can then share with you the progress that they've made, right? So that way you're not doing their job and they're not doing your job. And you never find yourself in a situation where you're like, but I thought that was your job. All right, I hope that helps. If it does, give us a thumbs up. If you got questions or comments, leave them in the notes below. And until we meet again, leave the world a cleaner place than when you found it.